Let's make another cup of coffee. Welcome, you guys. Oh, no. Damn. Hold on, damn. Okay. Sorry, y'all way up there. I don't mean, I'm sorry. It is, you know how it is. I just be in the moment. I think I like it. I think I like just adjusting my camera on here. It's every time I go live. And I think I love it. I think I complain about how it's silly, but I think I obviously don't give a fuck. I don't ever change that part of me, so I just like it. Another cup of coffee, yes. We're in our Mexico cup today. I don't have a lot of mugs, but it's like, look at the is it luchadores? I don't know. Luchadors? You know what I'm talking about. This is the best cup we have. I'm pretty fucking sure. And I don't like coffee cups, personally. One day we're going to get on our potter's wheel again. I have a potter's wheel here, but I found a kiln, a place that has a kiln. And I hope to get a kiln by my next Christmas, because it's a big ask, and I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But that's one of the things I would love to do, is spin pottery again. It was a strong fucking cup of coffee. Oh, is this bitch not working? Hello? Okay. But yes, we were just on Twitch. I think we were there for what, 40 minutes? Not sure. After this, we're going to go to Bigo. We're going to work out, use all of our energy to work out, and I already had a little bit of breakfast. I think I'll have some carbs right now, because I do think I'm going to be streaming for quite some time. We're going to be building a Christmas tree on stream today. My arm definitely feels a lot better. It still hurts, but we're going to have a lot to do today. Piece of sourdough bread here, rosemary, and break it in half. We'll toast it, have one piece for now. I don't want to have too many carbs right before my workout. I want to have just enough energy to fuel my workout. I don't want to overeat and then go backwards for the rest of the day. I'm bloated already. I had how much? 40 ounces of water already. So, hopefully, got another cup here. Second cup. Cheers to you, to us. Thank you for everything. Hot as fuck! Ah! Oh my god. Hot as hell! Shit! Just kidding about that. I think I might have scared that person away, that one person that came to watch the live. And I was just screaming. I feel bad for them. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. We're making a little bit of a snack. just have to use a little bit of this energy that I have. Hope everybody's having a good day. Hope they feel good. That they can probably enjoy their day to day. You never know. All of these things. And it's so nice because this is just enough dishes for me to fully start this. We're going to chat in a little bit, you guys. We're going to chat in a little. We're getting busy. I don't know who would watch this. But we came to YouTube to get some time in. We'll start with that. Beautiful. Well done. Let's go to the table. Keep the chit chat. Shout out to the one person watching my stream. What about my toast? We have another snack. Some fuel. Holy fuck! Oh my good god damn. Shit. Oh my god. Almost dropped everything. Fuck. Almost dropped everything. Almost ruined it. Oh my god. Okay, well. I know my limit. We're back with a bit of toast. A little bit of drum corps. Just keep going. We're coming on to stream before I'm able to even before we even start Vigo. I'm trying to. So yesterday we were talking about I mean, I guess it was sort of motivational, but talking about a bit of, how do you say, like, I mean, I guess projection a little bit. We were talking about projection, and we were asking why yesterday. We were asking why. The root, maybe. For some people. And look at that, what that could mean for them. You know, of course. Impediments, roadblocks, things that could be bothering them to start something. You know, that's what we were talking about yesterday. We were talking about being a beginner, which is nice. Oh, hey, Torn. I could see you guys down here because when we come onto YouTube and more landscape, the chat goes away here. Try to. Okay, I can see it now. Yeah, I don't know why it does that. But yeah, impediments, roadblocks, projection of other people telling us why we probably shouldn't do it this way, or when it comes not from a place of criticism, but it comes from a place of, I don't want you to do that. I don't see you doing that for the rest of your life. I don't want you to have that future. I want you to do what I want you to do. And they try to encourage to discourage, you know. I find that interesting. I think if I would have listened to people like that, I probably wouldn't be right here. You know. And granted, I could even give credit where it's due. They might have told me some very helpful things, but that's how you say it. Like I said, encourage to discourage would almost make me feel like, why would I even try? You know, I should stop trying then. How make you feel? So I'm glad I took it on the chin and kept it pushing, but you know, that really messes people up, I think. Unfortunately. And that's general and that's vague, but oh, I hope that makes sense. We have about what time is it now? We have about an hour. Maybe 45 minutes, since we already have 15 on here, so we have 45 more minutes. Hang out, be here, have an hour footage. Maybe people want to rewatch these. For whatever reason. But yeah, I just find that interesting. That it could have very well been the case that I might have just ended just like those people that, although they probably wanted the best for me, and they probably see my potential to be more, but then they just equate it to probably school, you know. Like, you're capable, you're self-aware, you have senses, you know, you're realistic, you set boundaries, all these things. And they probably just equate it to what they wish their life would be had they been able to see someone like me, you know. had there been someone like me at this age, like, oh my gosh, you should apply all you know to school. That's really what that is, you know, because that's what they want for their life. They would probably wish they probably could have that sense of security. Because they're probably at a point in their life where they wish they did because their dreams didn't work out. So now they want to go to school and have something, you know, to propel them in life, to make them be in a better tax bracket. I don't know, make more money, however it is. Rather than let me live my life how I want to live it. That's why I never shared. I never shared what I was doing for my stream. I never shared my goals or what I was working on or what I wanted to do whenever I was growing up. And some people equate that to, oh, you're so insecure, you don't want anyone, and you know, like, why don't you want to show anybody? Why don't you want to brag? Why aren't you bodacious, you know, or whatever the case is, grandiose even. But I never had that personality type. And I really liked myself. And I realized I did everything I wanted to do and make for me. To not show anybody because I needed to show someone, or to make it to get approval, or to make it to get validation, or to make it to be like, you know, which really is, look at what I can do. Do you like me? Do you like me yet? No. I'd have a lot of friends be surprised I could even paint. You know, to be surprised that I had all these things. But, you know, I made it for myself. I wanted to get better. I kept looking at my progress and my results, and I said, this could be better. I remember one time I showed my dad a painting, or a crayon drawing that I drew. It was at the time, I can't believe I have this memory. I'm glad I have this memory because it means that my dad was living with us, because he never stayed there for too long. But I remember I brought it to him in the garage. The garage was always cold. It was always made of, well, I mean, it was made of concrete, of course, but it was cold in there. I remember going in there, and I showed him that drawing, and he looked at it, and he had a Black and Mild in his mouth, hanging down, because, you know, when you're a smoker, it's just part of you, and it was very much hanging down, almost falling out of his mouth, and he's holding on to it with his teeth, and he's talking to me. And he's like, don't be lazy. Put more detail here. Fill in the white parts. You could try again. You could do better. You know. So it was just one of those things where I took it to heart and I cried after he told me that, you know. But I didn't understand that was just what he wanted me to do to improve. He was trying to give me criticism, you know. And I don't know if he was high out of his mind when he gave me that, because usually he would be generally softer with me. So I cried. My mom, for maybe one of the only times, few times, she was like, why'd you tell her like that? Like, she's okay. She did it's just a drawing. Why are you being so hard on her? I showed my dad because he is an artist. I did want his approval. I wanted to bond with him. I think it was one of those, like, grass on the bottom, white sky, yellow at the top, circle, blue line at the top. You know what I mean? Like one of those. So, and he was right. Because he'd probably seen that I was more capable in previous drawings. But he didn't know how to really communicate that, you know. And who knows if he was regurgitating what somebody else told him in just the same way. When he probably seen through me that I wanted just to bond and have a reason to talk to him, you know. So, but I cried. I cried a lot from that because, you know, I knew my dad could recognize my art as self-expression, And from then on, I was able to be appreciative and look at it, put it back, stand away from it. As an artist, you want to be so close, in and involved, and almost feel immersed in what you're doing, to have full control of every little bit, and to be so close, you know. But I had a girlfriend one time. She was an artist as well. She still is. She would set it down, take a picture, and look at the photo all day, because then you can actually determine where the light is actually hitting it, if anything's refracting from it, if there's shadows, if an area is too dark, if a tone is coming out more than one another. And it's easier to tell. And then, of course, with like painter's lights or what have you, looking at it, or in a certain type of lighting outside, now it's cloudy, so it's more of a white cast, depending on where you're taking that photograph, take it in different areas of the home, see it for what it is, see how it really looks. I had almost like iridescent lights in my mom's room, or in my bedroom at my mom's house. So everything had a hue until I took a picture and showed it to somebody. Like, oh, it almost looks better on the phone. You know what I mean? It looks better. But being so intimate or up close with it, I would feel almost like I could see everything that's wrong with it. But if I stand back, I almost had more appreciation, or I could have genuine criticism of what it was, what I was seeing. Like, oh my God, this is completely off. It's not even symmetrical, whatever it was. And he gave me that opportunity to look at it. That's what I took from it, just to look at it more and see what else I could do, how I can improve. Because it's really never wrong when you make tangible art. Sometimes feels like come off as an attack instead of an act of loving kindness. It's good to have people who push you forward towards better. I agree. But it's more, I bring that up because it was more of a tone, That's what I was leading with. Not just, could have been very well, credit could be due there, but how you say it. And explain it to me. Take time to just make me understand. Don't let me feel judged, If you want to seize an opportunity, make it make sense. Be childlike. Have mind like a child to communicate that with me. Remove your ego. You're an adult. This is my first time. You know what I mean? Whatever. But there's a way to communicate that. Out of the example of being a child, now adult to adult, preface. Remind people that you love them. Remind people that, hey, I'm just coming from, this is where I'm coming from, my place, when I say this, I don't mean this in a, preface. And especially based on how close you might be to that person, have consideration for their feelings is all, If some of your best engagements are with, strangers, I always come back to that thing, lead with love. And if that's the case, you should be giving your best to the people that you love, that are actually within your vicinity, arm's length, in your home. They should have the best of you. So it'd be completely shocking and very ironic that you wouldn't, take the time. But like I was explaining, who knows how high he was when he fucking told me he was just ripping it, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, disregarding, pouring it in consideration, yeah. Right. So, that was one of the few times I think he was that hard on me, And maybe that could have been, for him, a realization of how sensitive I was, Who knows? But from then on, he was able to understand that, okay, I have to be able to consider her feelings, to communicate what I need to say. And that's just respect. So, and you'd be surprised that without that consideration, respect for somebody's, hard work or what have you, that you probably would have hit a wall with them, and they probably would have never wanted to be curious while they're hearing this, information. At the same time, it could start conversation. It could lead people. that are receiving that, to be curious, more curious. Oh, really? You know, it encourages more, engagement. Encourages, maybe you probably could learn more than what the criticism initially was. It could just be a conversation. But no, it's sort of stunted with judgment, and then, that person probably feels so bad that they don't even want to keep talking to you, because now it's just like, well, you know, whatever. Hopefully that makes sense. I had no way to explain that, but you'd be surprised just how much you can get with just respect, manners, consideration, not such a judging approach, harsh approach. Without prefacing, it goes so far to hurt somebody. So, but yes, and despite that, was still received, and I still been able to hear his words rather than feel the words, and now take that into my own hands whenever I make something. I'm like, maybe I should look at, can this be better, or do I want this to be better? And when I got older, I decided, do I want it to be better? Or do I want it to be in this frame of mind of perfectionism, or go to this point of, mainstream or contemporary art, what people would deem like, oh, this is good. That absolves abstraction. So, and then I would ask myself the question, do I want this to be just as it is? And I was also talking about that before, where sometimes, I was telling this to my family, sometimes when I get in the feeling of wanting to make something, then I would make something bad, but it's art, so some people could sell a fucking blank canvas for millions of dollars. So let's not talk, you know what I'm saying? It's the eye of the beholder, or what have you. So I would deem it not so good, or my best work, or my most remarkable work, most commented on work, to equate that to be good, whatever. Take it personal. And then beat myself up because that's all I was able to produce that day, when in actuality I wasn't even feeling good. Maybe that's all I could do, is make something that wasn't good because I wasn't feeling good. So I don't feel bad about that now, Like, maybe when I feel like shit, all I can make is shit, to make it make sense for me. But I had to get it out. That's all that was. And now it looks like that on paper. It's like what was ever in here is out on the paper, and it was shit. And I was fine with it, And I just think that that's more of a beautiful aspect whenever I make something that maybe is not what I wanted it to be, or what I wanted to impress someone by, or if it wasn't as good as somebody else would have wanted it to be, or what they deem as good. It's like that same conversation that I have with music, like, what is the definition of good? So that's why I kept brushing it off, being like, whatever. There really is no definite answer to that. So it's maybe good. It could just be as much as people are comfortable with. And that's why I feel like abstraction is one of those things that now I appreciate so much of, because sometimes it just is. And that's all it was. And there's nothing more to it. It doesn't need to be judged any more than that. It just is, Which is weird to say, because you might look at something abstract that you're unfamiliar with. It could even be verbal communication. It could be something that someone's never said before, that you never heard before, and your immediate feeling is, you're weird. You're a weird person. Why are you thinking like that? Why are you saying things like that? Why are you doing things like that? You're not doing things that normal people do. You're not doing what the majority does. You're not thinking like the majority, whatever that may be. And this art expression is not, it's not that contemporary thing that you drew the other day. So what is this? You're going to call this good? That's just a naive perspective. They don't understand that. Well, they're just not artists. So I just disregard anybody who's not an artist to comment on anything, so to not wanting to have that sort of spirit to express in general for the sake of artistic, in the way of artistic expression. So I just disregard it, because usually they are more accepting of things just being. And that, it's not defined by perfectionism or what people deem as what art is. That's just like a common consumer perspective. I could say the same thing for music. Sometimes people just like what they like. Some people just like what's comfortable to them. Sometimes people like something that's clairvoyant and very clear. Some people like or appreciate or deem things good because they sound familiar, or they're nostalgic, or they have an appreciation for one instrument, or they have an appreciation for hard work, strong vocalism, lyricism. And so that's why I say this thing's good. So what, so I can't keep myself in that frame of mind. And I think that whenever I watch my father create, eventually you try so many mediums, you realize what is left, what is left. I've been on an abstract journey outside of pottery, outside of what I do for my stream, because I can make kitty drawings and people fucking eat that shit up, so I don't really care about that, But abstraction, deconstruction has inspired me because that's where my dad left off since he passed away. And for a long time, I didn't want to make anything because I couldn't get over that hump of, feeling comfortable with the fact that my dad could only do art whenever he was high, eventually. Or he never got inspiration because of it. But when really it is that he did drugs for so many years that he never had any more synapses to create, dopamine at a regular baseline level. Somebody not doing drugs. So then you have that dopamine hit of 400 times normal brain. So whenever you're not, nothing is the same. Inspiration doesn't come. Depression is what you're left with. Because you remove fulfillment, dopamine doesn't hit. Dopamine doesn't spark. Therefore, fulfillment can't even be a place somebody can exist in anymore. So, and I watched him be that way. So, but he would define it as that. Oh, I just can't. I don't feel it when I'm not high. But he didn't say that. He just like, oh, I don't know. I guess my life's just different now. And maybe he almost felt like he was doing a disrespect or a disservice to himself because of that. Like felt guilty because he knew that it reminded him of drugs. Who knows? Whatever it may be. And when I was growing up, he would make things, trees, animals, color them different colors. Never distorted their bodies, but just would use different colors to create tones instead of, you have a dark shade of gray, a light shade of gray. But he would use a dark purple or a green or a dark purple or a yellow to create a light tone versus a dark tone, but it's just a color. And he would do that all the time. Instead of using a lavender versus a royal purple, you see? But it'd be a completely different color and perspective of how bright or dark it may be, how much brown, black, blue is in it, versus how much maybe yellow, white, green might be in it. So, which was funny. But eventually it became, whenever I was growing up, it would be woodwork. And, when I was just born, it was pottery. Then he would do welding, because they kind of correlate in terms of how flexible the medium is, how flexible the clay can be, how flexible you can make your solder, how malleable you can heat something up as iron or metal to then make it flexible. And it kind of is the leather stage, if you know what I'm talking about for pottery, leather stage, which is when they usually shape handles for mugs. make feet for the plates that you have, you know, the thing that it sits on. Feet. An indentation at the bottom, it's a foot, you know, the handle, it's attached at the leather stage. And it's not watery or slippery like when you first, you know, throw something on the wheel. It takes days for it to become leather hard. It becomes harder so that way you can carve and sculpt. So a variation of sculpting when you use that, but it was almost the same, not the same texture, of course, but the same, how it would be so pliable. It would move in the same. So they kind of are the same. You know, you can go from one to another almost seamlessly, is what I'm saying. Not that we could even call it prerequisite or precursor. So, and if you really know what I mean, and I'm sorry I can't explain it. And then it was woodwork, and he planted bamboo along the side of our home, and he would take the bamboo that was old or new, you know, young, the mature stuff, and make stuff out of it, and take permanent markers or markers and color on the bamboo, and it would adhere or seep into the seams of the wood, the fibers of the bamboo, and he would let them bleed into different colors and use permanent marker to define lines. There was no face or drawing, but it was just fragments of color everywhere. So when he moved out, whenever he lived in Oklahoma for the rest, you know, for years, he would send me back those drawings of the animals and the trees where they'd just be different colors. But that same inspiration of letting colors bleed went there, instead of, you know, using one color to create tones. And then it became just, you know, letters of expression, literally handwritten letters, and, you know, pencil drawings, you know, jail mail, basically, and making postcards and stuff like that, writing all over them, drawing all over them, but yeah. I never seen a whole lot of abstraction until he got into woodwork. A little bit, you know, a little bit. But he was obsessed because it was like, oh, I just love how that looks. I have a piece of wood of his in my room. I keep it. And I have another one that I pot in that I sometimes put a plant in. I don't have one in there right now. I don't always have a potted plant inside that piece of wood out there because I don't want it to deteriorate, and then, you know, because it's decomposable. So I don't want too much moisture in it, so I take it out sometimes. Are you gonna leave this as a video? Yeah. Everything that we're making for Twitch is recorded, we post, and everything that we have live streamed here, whether it be 30 minutes, 1 hour, it's always uploaded. We already have, I don't know if something's still processing, but we still have 3 other videos last night and earlier in the day. So we have about 2 hours of footage total, 2 hours, 20 minutes of footage from yesterday. Today's also going up. That's just the way it is. I'm just trying to get as much time as we can on here. It just depends after we hit 500 subscribers, and I don't really talk about it a lot. I want people to feel pressured. Of course, I want people to watch as they feel it's necessary. So I don't want people to feel pressured to turn on the videos and watch them through and through and repeat them. Oh, but you know, of course I'd want that, but I want people to just organically want to watch the videos. So if I have a long video, it's probably better for the future. So I'm saying nothing, you know. Sorry, I couldn't see that right away. Couldn't see that. But that's where he left off, and I just thought maybe I could pick right up from there. I mean, I have an interest of, you know, woodwork in terms of refurbishing, restoration approach, but not carving or anything like you used to do, you know. Not yet. I won't limit myself, but not yet, you know, so I have left off there, almost living vicariously through him, appreciating what he can do, seeing the extent of what he can do. And I never thought to be better, but I just wanted to at least be as good as when I observed him and his ability. And that's when I would sort of define it for myself. Like sometimes when I would be grieving, I would just make as much as I could. And that turned to be, like, if somebody was to categorize it visually, and say, what is this kind of art? It would probably say abstract, because really it was only as much as I could. A lot of it was unfinished stuff. So there was a battle with completion for some reason, but I haven't quite really thought about that for too long to give you an answer why, but that is something that I think of. And then, it was left unfinished, or it was just so odd or so deconstructed, only I knew what it was, and I'd just leave it as is. I felt lost. Maybe that could have been it, but I don't put a frame on it, I don't put it in a parameter, I just made it. That's what I like to do, is just make it, and I think that's what I like to leave my mind thinking I just made it. So as a coping mechanism of some sort. And that doesn't make sense, but and I think it's more of an encouragement than a discouragement, because I'm testing a boundary or a limit, or with myself, of like, is this okay? Is it okay to be undone? Is it okay if I don't finish? Is it okay if it doesn't look like anything familiar? I think if I really wanted it to be complete, I'd do that. So I don't mind. I don't know if we'll be able to determine who wants to be an admin today, or at any time in the month of December. I think leading to the new year, we can have people ask, and I will determine. But we don't have a determination system right now because we don't have gifts yet. So, oof, However, and so, or if people had questions, that'd be good too, or topics, that'd be nice as well. All right, I guess we're done here. We have 46. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to Vigo after this. We're leaving it here. This was a reflection of my perception of my emotional ties to my art, and stemmings from, I think, where it stems from. So, an appreciation of my parents and my dad and his artistic expression, and that's it. So if that motivates you to create, I'm glad. If that discourages you in any way based on comparison, eliminate that, please. And cherish the fact that you can do whatever you'd like in your private time, so long as you're not hurting anybody, being detrimental to society, of course. But if it's your creative expression in the parameter of what's art, you know, or maybe it has nothing to do with that, and today you didn't fucking feel like it. Maybe you didn't feel like it. Inspired goal number 1. So, maybe you didn't want to get out of bed today. Maybe you don't want to show up for your life. Maybe you have a disdain for yourself. Maybe you don't like who you see. Maybe you don't like what you've done or who you are. And although it's unfortunate, but that's your test, you see. So let it be a test to you. My dad would always tell me that. This is your test. What are you going to do with it? You know, he didn't say that part, but, you know, this is your test, Mita. What are you going to learn from it? Because what is a test, you know? A test of character, a test of wit, strength, ability, capability, a test of whether you can look inside or not to yourself, view yourself, strip yourself of what people tell you you are, and then look at you. What are you left with? If you weren't all those things, what are you? You know, what's in your way? And how did you come to be? Maybe those things they describe you as, just as an experiment. I'm not saying anything's wrong with anybody, but some people might look at me and they might say I'm strong. Some people might look at me and like, wow, you know a lot. You know, you're smart. Or eliminate smart, but some people might say wise. Or some people might say you're talented. You're an artist. You know, you have such discipline. You're a chef. You're sensitive. You know, you take such good care of yourself. You love yourself a lot. You're so cool. You know, what am I left with? You know, just me. I have a body. I have a body. You know, I'm silly. You know, you're silly. I mean, they've probably told me that a million times. You know. I'm cool. I'm only expressing me, you know, like what people have said to me, so, you know. I'm dead. So, those are all things people have told me. So then I'm asking myself in this moment, what am I? Who am I? Or what am I left with? You know. My dad would say, you're a plant mama. Yeah. My mom would call me cool. But I think she meant in the moment, like, you're just not afraid. I think that's what she meant to say in that moment, actually. You're weird, you know. You're different. So, I say, well, I've been through a lot. That's all that is. I'm just a person that's been through a lot. And I'm glad. Glad. That sets me apart and makes other people, when I view them, I can see exactly where they're going wrong I could advise them the best I could. I could lead people to water. I could see the part they're missing. I can see why they're coping. I can see that they are coping. I can see that they're holding themselves back. I can see they don't like themselves. I can see they believe everything else people tell them about them. I believe they haven't spent not enough time with themselves. I can see that they have a lot of fear and they lead with fear. And they're afraid of others and they're afraid of themselves. So they're in their own way. And probably because they've never had a chance to test their character or they missed their opportunity. So and I could redefine those things for myself, and ask myself why, even if it's true. Weird is misunderstanding, I just like to be myself. You're a chef. I just had a lot of reps. My mom worked a lot. And at one point it was creative expression for me. I like to try. So I tried cooking when I was 10, 11. I'm 27 now. I just had a lot of reps. That's all that is. A lot of experience. You're an artist. I was inspired by somebody else. I realized as long as I put in repetitions, I could train that as a skill. It's a skill. Art is a skill a lot of the time. There's fundamentals. And then you stray from that. Then you have different definitions of what that could be. Different expressions of that. That's all that is. It's just something I can participate in and I realize I can get good at it. That's all that is. Just something I'm good at. The workouts. I have an interest in nutrition. I like the body. I like anatomy. I was an artist. I am an artist. That's where it stems from. And now it's become something that just makes me feel capable and helps me have longevity for my life. Helps me help others. I'm basically nutrition coaching one of my friends right now, helping somebody, sharing knowledge, just like that. I like to take care of myself. I like to think of myself being able to have longevity in my life, being capable for a long time, not just getting old. You're different. Yes, I'm myself. I think for myself, thank God. I don't want to be you. You're strong, been through a lot, did something with it, learned from it. You're cool. My daddy taught me how to be cool. And I realized that when you try so much, whenever I was younger, realized that trying so much don't make you cool. It makes you look scared to be you. Not comfortable with yourself, can't laugh at yourself, probably not. So, can't be relaxed with you, and no sound, no silence. Sometimes when we stream, I don't even talk. Some people are just watching me, perspective of watching a girl be, which is really weird. Just like being myself, sometimes I don't want to entertain too much. That's basically what that is. Sorry, it was supposed to go that way, but you get what I mean. You're a plant mama. It's just one more thing I like to be good at. You can train it. There's fundamentals and get a result with an input. That's what I like. Control. I could study something, see where my reward gets me. A definite reward. Same thing with working out. A definite reward. Put this in, get this out. Exactly that, get exactly that. Like that. I like being able to create life. Feeling like I'm helping them. They're not alive. To the extent of, having conscious thoughts maybe, but, can make something good. Self-sufficiency translates to food growth, growing your own food. Love that. It's in accordance with me as a person, self-sufficient. What else? I'm sensitive. Yeah. I'm self-aware of my emotional state. My emotional intelligence is high. I do well with other people. I can communicate to others. It's not hard for me to make friends. It's not hard for me to understand other people. It's not hard for me to not judge somebody. Yeah, it's an easier life that way. You never know who you could meet and learn something from, even if they're out of their fucking mind. So I don't lead with my ego. Yeah, I don't do that. I don't think I know everything. I have humility to know that I'm just a breathing person like them, and they probably had no equipment in their self to deal with their life and look at their life now. Like they don't realize they have tools. That's all. They're unaware. They're ignorant. They don't really understand. They haven't had it make sense to them yet. They have a lot of catching up to do. They, look at all the mistakes I've done. If I didn't learn from mine, I'd probably look like them. I can't judge. I can't. That's why I'm sensitive. I want to bond with people, yes. That's why I'm sensitive. I want to be able to make something of the interaction that I'm having with somebody. I want to take that time to not waste it, So, yeah, if I'm just a little bit out of my ego, just absolve it completely and be vulnerable, comfortable being vulnerable. Yes, that's what I am, sensitive, yeah. So, and then we all have that, but, an ego will mask it, pride will mask it. It'll be one of those reasons to never expound on yourself because you don't want to look inward. You're afraid of yourself. You don't want to face yourself. If I had an ego like you, I would be a dick. I don't want to be an asshole like you. So yeah, I'm sensitive. I love that. Sensitivity is a virtue. So I'll continue to use it. And I will continue to. It's because I'm so sensitive that I live my life like this now. That I can get all this praise. It's because I didn't lead with my ego. I didn't think there wasn't anything I could learn. Cooking, being able to create, having knowledge about the body, helping people with their garden or what have you, or just general life advice. Extremely so. I didn't waste any of my opportunities. And I tried. Didn't think I know how to do all that. I don't even have to try. I can't do that. Just assuming protecting myself from failure. I don't need to try that. Shit looks stupid. No. I don't limit myself. I like myself, even if I'm a beginner, even if I fail. Because I don't define it as anything but a test and something to learn from. If I stop, if I give up, I'm failing. But I don't let myself get into a place where I'm putting my own wall up. Yeah, so I'm sensitive. I don't miss opportunities not being sensitive, like you do. Anybody else who puts that on me, no. Somebody might have said that to them, and that made them feel weak because they don't understand what sensitivity is, and they define it as that. Well, I don't want to be seen as weak. I want to be seen as strong. I'll never tap into that. I'll never actually be self-aware anymore. I'll never give in to how I feel. I'll never give in to how people make me feel. It'll always be everybody else's fault. I won't take responsibility for even my own feelings. I won't analyze or recognize if I have guilt, remorse, if I've disrespected anybody, if I've had inconsiderate. No. I'll just keep going being an asshole. Like, no. Yeah, of course I'm sensitive. Of course. We all have it. It's what do you want to embrace it, Try this drug. You need to open your mind. You need to be optimistic. You need to open your mind a little bit. No, I don't need. I can just be vulnerable. I can just be vulnerable. I can just tap into that. Sober. I don't need to open my eyes to where I'm wrong. I just have self-awareness. I have self-awareness and I have shame. I let myself experience shame and I cry. I don't need something to drop my ego for me. Silly. I'm glad. So, you could just drop it. Okay, I'll see you guys.